So good morning everybody, and once again Saturday, Self-Care Saturday. And for those of you that haven't met me, my name is Warren Flood, and I work as a movement and mindset coach, as a fitness consultant, as well as in corporate, doing talks on health and wellness. And it's been my passion for the last 30 years. And just straight up off the bat from the beginning, just let me reiterate the fact that I'm non-medically trained, and what I'm sharing with you today is just what I've gathered cobbled together through my own experiences working with clients, as a coach, as a trainer, and just over all the years, over the last 30 years, having been in the industry, just watched people and interacted with people and researched and read and just allowed myself to be immersed in this field. And today, and once again, just a big shout out to Steve and Jenny for inviting me to create these little self-care Saturday messages and invitations. And once again, this is just an invitation. This is not a direct instruction. Everything I talk about today is just an invitation for you to have a listen, just check it out, see if it fits. If it doesn't fit, chuck it away, find something better. But it's always about growing and understanding, and perhaps just something that you may find from today's message. And today, the general theme, something that I was speaking about, I had a couple of talks this week, and it was actually about gratitude. And there's a lot being said that if you have a gratitude practice, it makes things better. And for me, what happened, it's been around for ages. For me to actually then go and to practice gratitude, to make a list of things that you're grateful for. To be honest with you, in the beginning, and this was a couple of years ago, several years ago, I was, to put it lightly, I was so disassociated with my reality that I actually, to practice gratitude actually left me feeling worse, because everything just seemed so dark and so wrong, and I was always just in such a fight and flight, self-protection mode that I could barely catch my breath, let alone have enough energy to practice gratitude. And in hindsight, when I finally did manage to start practicing a little bit of gratitude, what was so amazing was that I've actually realized that along the way, generally, most of my life has been pretty amazing. And what the practicing of gratitude, and sort of by small things, just sort of practicing, first of all, the free stuff, the fact that I could go walking and go hiking. Being based here in Johannesburg, there's some beautiful day hikes out in nature reserves in and around the Joburg environs. So practice a bit of gratitude about that, because those are the things that gave me joy and sort of enabled me just to stay sane. Actually, that was my sort of walking therapy. And the fact that my breathwork sessions in the morning when the sun was coming up and I could see the skies change and the birds, so that was cool. So really, so all the free stuff, the fact that the air that we breathe, the hikes that I could go on, nature, because these are all things that are there that we sometimes take for granted, but are really, if somebody came along and said, listen, you can never watch you're banned from ever watching another sunset or sunrise, I would be bereft, to say the least. So just by starting that, and then over a period of time, and I can't say that specifically it was a gratitude practice, but I think it was a combination of a whole lot of things. It was the training, it was the research, it was interacting with people. The hypnosis facilitation certainly helped in expanding my perception of what the mind was, and what our capabilities are. And then by and by, just letting go of so many layers of what I was holding on to, and in that, practicing the gratitude. Then what I started doing was going back, and this was in my very relaxed freestyle breathwork sessions. It wasn't meditation per se, but I'd go back and visit certain situations in my life that I know now in hindsight, and I think it's a wisdom thing as well. I know now that in hindsight, if I had been more present, I would have way more enjoyed it, so much more. So I'd go back and actually practice gratitude for those moments, relive them, and really just practice the gratitude of how wonderful it was to experience that. So holidays, trips, places that I'd visited, people that I'd interacted with. So it was really it was a wonderful sort of re-evaluating and reliving and polishing the lens through which I experienced myself, and actually understanding that it wasn't just all dark and bleak, but actually there was a lot of light along the way that I just couldn't see because my perspective was colored. And so that really helped me a lot. So in the practicing of the gratitude, and here's the thing, and I have no idea what mountains you've climbed, what struggles you've been through, what successes, what joys, what highs, what lows, what grief, because life does have a way of sharing all of that with us in the most unexpected and sometimes delightful ways, and other times like just like really hard, and we, in working with all of that, just to really sort of develop a sense of no matter where you find yourself, what's the one thing you can begin to focus on that you can be grateful for. And if we really have to take away everything, let's just be grateful for the fact that we're alive, and life will find a way. And if we're alive, that means there's potential for us to be able to experience a different outcome. It's just that we don't know it yet. We just haven't expanded our horizons, our mindset, to actually be able to go into a space where we can actually then find a solution. So in practicing the gratitude, it's actually about acknowledging what you have. And here's the thing that I've come to understand as well, is that when we practice gratitude, our body actually signifies that we have enough. And by what starts happening is that in the signifier of that we actually do have enough, so that we're practicing gratitude for what we've got, that we're showing gratitude for what we've got. And whatever you choose those few things to be initially, is that if we have enough, all the grasping and needing and wanting and fighting and grabbing to get hold of something to be where we're not, and essentially that's what most of us we either in the past, and we either in the past or the future. And what gratitude does, it brings us into the now, because we can be grateful for what we've got. And then once we can really practice to be grateful for what we've got, we can, as in my case, then practice gratitude for what I'd experienced. And then by and by it began to dawn on me that I can actually be grateful for a future that was brighter than the one that I'd been experiencing. And that then started initiating almost like a snowball effect. It was like a tiny little snowball, and eventually became bigger and bigger, until there's been moments of avalanches of gratitude where I've just been overwhelmed by, wow, this is this particular moment is just so working out for me. And then what starts happening is that you start relaxing in the space that you find yourself occupying. And then when you start occupying the space that you have without resistance, and here's the thing about without resistance, if people are like, well, if I'm not resisting it, then that means I'll just accept it. No, absolutely not. It's so where, and then with curiosity, if this is where you've gotten by default, and this is where you've ended up, where could you go if you really became intentional about all of your habits, your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your beliefs? And as we've discussed in possibly the other I may have mentioned, is your thinking necessarily your own thinking? Or is it just a construct of everything that you've been exposed to over the last however old you are? And is it your history? But it doesn't necessarily have to be your future. And one of the practices, if you bring in a gratitude practice, then what starts happening is that those small rituals, those small routines where we acknowledge, and also gratitude for how far you've come and how well you've actually done considering. And for those of you that have excelled, how well you've done to this moment in time and how well you could still be doing. So, I think at no matter what point you find yourselves in life, is to actually practice gratitude for no matter how successful you are, or spiritually, emotionally, physically robust and everything that you've got. There's still even room for more, because if there wasn't, that would just be to say that this is your life, this is what you got, this is your lot, and just to suffer your way through it for till the end of days. And that's not the case, because in speaking to hundreds of people over the last 30 years, hundreds upon hundreds of people over the last 30 years, there's always been a way, there's always been a solution. And it's been wonderful for me to be able to witness people's transitions and transformations over the last few years. And I think, once again, so creating that ritual of having gratitude, creating the ritual of having movement, creating the ritual of practicing a breath work, creating the ritual of watching the sun rise or the sun set, creating a ritual of actually sending a friend or somebody that you've been thinking of and just saying to them, listen, you're loved, you're appreciated, without any, so it doesn't have to be transactional, just to send that out. It's just to signify that we have enough. And once we can acknowledge that we actually do have enough, that we are life itself, and that within that potential lies the fullest potential of our next best expression. And remember, life is always seeking expression. So what is your expression? And for me, it was actually coming back to the fact that my greatest power was not in the wild actioning of all sorts of extravagant behavior, but in the simplicity of acknowledging the free stuff, the sunset, the sunrise, the rain, friends, companionship, and even just to be able to share this particular moment with you. So that's my thought for the day. And once again, if it resonates, or if there's something that you'd like to chat about a bit more, don't hesitate to reach out to Steve, Jenny, or myself. And wishing you all such a wonderful Saturday, and take good care until next week. Thank you. Bye bye.